Hey, I'm T, and this is From Prison to Reform. So, this guy is up for parole revocation. He has quite the story. And if you don't know my story, I've been to prison twice. It's nothing I'm proud of, but it's part of me, part of who I am. So, I like to cover these parole hearings, maybe give you some more insight on things you may or may not know. I don't know. But this guy has quite the story or quite the excuses. I don't know. You let me know what you think about his story. Is it just a bunch of excuses or is it just a well thought out story? Because listen, in jail or prison, you have time on your hands to think of a story, come up with something that hopefully will be convincing to people that you could either stay on your parole or you're back in prison. So it's a scary thing. The first time I went down, I got 18 months. I didn't have to see the parole board. But my second time down, I had to go in front of the board and I was scared, okay? It's I don't know. The parole board has a lot of power and they're just really scary. I don't know. If you ever talk to a prison inmate or have been to prison, going in front of the board is pretty scary, at least in my opinion. But let me know what you think about his story. And before I get into the video, please like and subscribe, turn on notifications, that way you don't miss any more uploads from me.
Okay, we are now at Calcasieu Correctional Center for a revocation hearing on Mr. Shane Hex. Mr. Hex, your case has been assigned to me. My name is Pete Freeman. I am the acting chair. To my left is Mr. Tillis. To my right is Ms. Stapleton. We will be your panel today. Mr. Hex, please state your name and DOC number for the record. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Get somebody unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Okay, so get your name and DLC number.
Shane Hex, DOC number 337829.
Okay, is there any guard now with you?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Heck, as I stated, I'm gonna be doing your hearing today. I'm gonna read the violations. You plead guilty, not guilty, with or without a statement. And then I'll ask you questions. Okay, you last made contact with probation and parole in March 2024. You failed to contact your officer when you moved from last reported address of 1907 Catherine Street, Lake Charles, Louisiana. How do you plead to that charge?
Not guilty. That is actually incorrect. The officer that they gave me, that's incorrect.
Oh, tell that officer to come in, please. He's right behind.
Oh,
officer, you should come in for a second, please. Okay, could you state your name, please?
My name
Yes, sir.
Peter Fields.
Okay. Could you tell us anything about Mr. Hex? Has he given y'all any problems since he's been there?
I've been with him for about 20 to 30 minutes. He hasn't given me any problems. I'm not with
Okay.
him.
Okay, so you're not on his walk.
Sure.
The actual.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be Terry. He's the one.
All right, now let's get back to you. Thank you, sir. That's all we needed. So what? You pled not guilty, and why?
Yes, sir. I pled not guilty to that charge because I was released in March of where they're saying that I was released from here, and I reported immediately to my parole officer at the time, Mr. Eric the Dream. And he was congratulating me because I told him I was going to report as soon as I got out. And he said, you was completely honest with me. He said, you're one of the first ones that actually reported as soon as you got out. So I reported successfully to Mr. Eric the Dream up until, I think it was June. I called him for my monthly report in June, and Mr. Vidrine told me that I wasn't on his roster any longer. And he asked me, had I changed addresses or anything of that nature? And I said, no, sir, I'm still at the same address. And he said, call up here to the main office of probation and parole and find out what's going on. He said, if you haven't changed addresses or anything, he said, I'll still be your officer, because that's my area. So I called immediately as soon as I got off the phone with him. Their phone line was completely going berserk for several months, according to them. And,
So, are you still living at 1907? Is that where you still reside?
no, sir, that's the main issue. That's what happened. I live at 209, West Lee Street in Sulphur. That's why he was my parole officer, assigned to me for that address. And come to find out, the reason that they put me under this Miss Michaela Laverne is because they went off of one of my previous addresses. And that's when I talked to him. He said, well, get it straight with them and let them know that you haven't moved. And I continued, like he told me to keep calling their office. I called that whole month of June. And I called him back when it was time for me to report the next month in July. And I explained to him I'd been calling every day.
I'll find you not guilty on that one, so you could quit explaining, okay? That's rule number three. Number three, yeah. Condition number 4, you engaged in criminal activity as evident by your arrest by the Quincy Police Department on 8/7/24 for aggravated cruelty to animals and simple battery of the infirm. On 1/30/25, charges of aggravated cruelty to animals, felony, and simple battery of the infirm were no pros. How do you plead to that charge?
Not guilty.
Okay, what went on? Why the police were called and what happened?
Well, okay, I was renovating Miss Nadine Lofton's house. And I was hanging sheetrock and remodeling her house. So we worked out, we signed the contract. I didn't have my own transportation, so there would be times that I didn't have a ride. So she would furnish me a room at her residence to be taken off of the final end of the renovation. If I needed, if I needed to stay there, because like I said, I didn't have my own personal ride. But I showed up to her house probably on like July the 28th, I believe it was. I caught a ride to her house so I could continue working on her house. I let myself in because I had to keep to her house because we had an agreement. And when I came into the house, I was calling her name. And I hear her, she calls back to me, sounds like it's coming from the laundry room. So I go into the laundry room, she's clutching her chest. And I'm like, what's going on, Miss Nadine? Are you okay? She said, no. She said, I think I'm having a heart attack. I said, well, what's going on? She informed me that the night prior to me, that morning, me coming over, that she had injected crystal methamphetamines. And I said, let me call 911 so you can go to the emergency room or whatever. They can come out and see, make sure that you're okay. She said she didn't want to call 911. She just wanted to go to her room and lay down and try to recover, shake back, whatever. So I helped her to her room and I went on about my business, hanging sheetrock, carrying on. And while I was doing that, there were several people coming to her house that day. And I let them all know, that what had happened, whenever I came in, how I found her. And I said, if any of y'all know anything about drugs or anything, don't give them to her. Because I explained that she was having an issue. And I told several people that day. I didn't know if any of them had been bringing it, but I was letting them know. If they did know who was giving her the drugs to not.
Did the confrontation take place?
That same day, but it was probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was in my room. I was in my room sleeping that she furnished for me. She busted through the door approximately, like I said, 2 o'clock in the morning, and started pounding me in the face. You could refer to my booking photos that I had a black eye. She started pounding me in the face, and I'm like, "What's going on?" Whoa, because I mean, I was woke up out of my sleep. And she says, "You need to get out of here because you're telling everybody not to give me any drugs anymore. And that's none of your business." I said, "Miss Nadine, I was just looking out for your best interest." And I said, "Look," I said, and I had video surveillance of the entire altercation in the room. I had cameras in the room. And I said, "I'm just going to call the law right now to get this straight." I said, "You are on video, and that will exonerate me. I didn't do nothing wrong." I said, "I can press charges on you." She begged me not to call the police. So I did. And approximately 10 days later, her daughter came over. I'm hanging sheetrock. Her daughter comes in and tells me that I need to leave. I said, "Look," I said, "I have permission and a written contract with your mother that I can be here renovating." She said, "Well, you need to leave." And she started pushing on me and slapping me. So I left. And I came back the next morning and the police showed up. The police questioned me. I explained to them what had happened 10 days prior to this, because this was 10 days later. And I still had the black eye and everything. I explained my side of the story, told them I was the victim. He said, "Okay." I told him about the video, and he said, "Okay." He said, "Well, let me go talk to her." And he went and talked to her, and she said that she wanted me to leave. He said, but she couldn't make me leave because there would have to be eviction proceedings. And I said, "Look," I said, "I will leave." I said, "But I got $20,000 worth of tools over here." And he told me, he said, "You don't have to leave because y'all have a written agreement." He said, "There's a process she has to go through." I said, "As soon as I get a ride, I will leave. I got $20,000 worth of tools here." And he said, "All right." And he said, "Did you want to press charges on Miss Nadine or her daughter?" Because her daughter, like I said, her daughter pushed me around and slapped me the night before. And I said, "No, sir." And he said, "Okay." So they left. And they came back about 2 or 3 hours later and said that I answered the door, and they told me that I had a parole violation warrant. So they arrested me for a parole violation warrant. They didn't arrest me for any of the allegations that was lodged against me because they found it unmerited at the time. So they took me to the Quincy PD, and I was there for probably 4 or 5 hours. And probation and parole showed up, picked me up, and brought me here to Calhoun Parish Sheriff's Office. I was here probably for about a week. Miss Laverne, the new PO that they supposedly switched me to that I never had made contact with, came up to see me. I explained to her the same thing that I told y'all about calling and their phone lines was messed up. She said, "You know what?" She said, "I believe you, Mr. Hicks." She said, "I'm going to drop the hole." And I said, "Okay, thank you." So she left. About 11 days later, I'm wondering what's going on. So I hit the call button in the day room of where I was being housed at, and spoke to the deputies in the tower. And they said that they had the reason that I hadn't been released yet is because they placed charges on me, which were the charges that you just spoke about. And I was like, okay. So I immediately filed a motion to receive my discovery packet, a preliminary examination, and a motion for speedy trial to go ahead, to speed this process up because I was not guilty of anything and I wanted to be clear. So they answered my motions and everything. It granted everything, but they ended up rejecting my charge. The charges was unmerited. There was no evidence or anything on these charges. So they offered me a plea bargain for a misdemeanor. I said, "I'm not taking nothing because I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not admitting guilt in something that I didn't do." So on January the 30th, I went for misdemeanor trial. they NPO'd the charges. The charges was dismissed. I was never formally arrested for those charges to begin with. I was arrested for a parole violation. So they never came to me and rebooked me, Mirandized me, or anything.
Now, the parole violation was the charges.
Sir,
Parole violation was the charges. That's why they said you were arrested for parole violation. But anyway, so you got found, so they know across those charges.
yes, sir.
Tell me about the dog. Why you slammed the dog in the door?
I did not slam no dog. That dog got ran over or something. I didn't even know nothing.
They had a neighbor back there said he went inside, the dog was laying there, and the dog died because he got slammed in the door.
I didn't do anything to a dog. Like I said, I had an entire video of that whole house, video surveillance of that whole house. It could provide the SD card to the courts. That's why all these charges was rejected and dismissed, because they didn't have any evidence that I did.
I told you I had quite the story, and I don't know what to believe. Like, you know, working on a house, staying with them, they had a contract. He mentioned the charges were dismissed, and he had cameras all over the house. So, but, you know, he's still, I guess, I don't know. This one's confusing, because if they had a contract, then he would be able to live there. But if she's using and he's around that, like, I don't know. It just, a lot of it just doesn't make sense to me. So maybe when you guys could explain more, but I don't know. Do you believe his story? Do you think it's true? Do you think he really could unalive the dog? I don't know. It's crazy.
All right, let's move on. We're gonna they charged you with being in arrears of $1,701. Did you make any payments on your supervision fees at all?
No, sir, I did not. Because like I said, sir,
why not? You had a job.
because I just started working for Miss Nadine, and I was telling Mr. Bedreen that, and he said, we'll worry about that later, so you can do some community service or whatever to take care of that.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna get to your main violation now. Why you threatened that probation officer?
I didn't threaten that probation.
They should have pressed charges on you for what you did to that probation officer.
I didn't threaten her.
So you saying you didn't threaten to kill her and you didn't throw your paperwork through the thing?
No, sir, I did not. I was arguing with an inmate that was sitting outside of the thing. He threatened to kill me.
Okay, I have no further questions.
I have no questions.
Okay, we're now gonna vote. My vote today is for revocation. I don't believe your story whatsoever. And, so my vote is to revoke. Violating conditions number 4 and number 10.
I concur.
And I concur.
Okay.
What is
Dave,
4 and 10?
vote. Huh?
What is 4 and 10, sir?
Can't hear you.
What is
I
cheating?
said, what is violation 4 and 10?
10 is not paying supervision fees. 4 is that I find you guilty because I believe there was some kind of action that took place. There was a battle and there was some fighting. But regardless, the threat to probation officer probation officer threatened should also have been charges. And there was witnesses to that. Today, your probation has been revoked. Parole's been revoked. We're closing out at Calcasieu at 10:50.
Well, there you have it. He's revoked. And threatening his PO, that's never good. And I'm surprised he wasn't charged with that. Please let me know what you think about this. And if you like videos like this, let me know. I can continue doing them. So please like the video. Let me know what you think. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button. Have a good night.